right, Guy, I think we're going to go ahead and get started.
Okay.
As we said, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining this workshop done by LinearB. It's called Using Data to Increase Efficiency and Pinpoint Your Dev Team Roadblocks. So your speakers today. Guy, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you very much, Zach. My name is Guy. I'm a customer success manager at LinearB. I'm based in Tel Aviv, Israel, and looking forward to have a good time with you today.
Awesome. Thanks, Guy. Guy's being very modest there, by the way, in his intro. He does, as his bio there says, manages 150 LinearB instances across 4 continents. So Guy is a busy guy, no pun intended. I'm Zach Westall. I'm a senior product marketing manager here at LinearB. Primarily, I'm a content engine, and I've been at LinearB for about 9 months now. And then when I'm not at work, I like my wife, my dogs, fantasy literature, and I really enjoy pinball. So if you want to talk to me about any of this stuff, I will happily chat your ear off. But enough about us. Let's get to the good stuff. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to go over what you're likely struggling with as engineering leaders, team leads, engineering managers, even developers. So we're going to cover some pain points that we've seen after talking to our customers, researching some data there. We'll talk about PR size and how it's the proto metric and what that means, the proto metric. We'll talk about actioning all of this insight that we're giving you with a demo from Guy. And then we'll save some time from Q&A. In the meantime, you can type your questions into the hop-in chat. And we'll just get to as many as we possibly can. Those that we don't get to, we'll follow up with you after. And then don't worry, slides and recordings will be available after the webcast. So those of you worrying about that, no worries. We've got you. So without further ado, what you're likely struggling with. So here's a day in the life. We've talked to a lot of our customers. This is what really has been their experience. Even internally, this is what some of our engineering leads have said is their experience on a day-to-day basis. The business, the product team, the marketing team, like myself, we ask them, when are you going to deliver ABC? When can we announce it? When can we talk about it? When can we start telling our customers? Oh, by the way, I know you're working on ABC, but can you also work on X, Y, and Z? And your engineering team then reacts like this, kind of freaking out, coming up with reasons or answers to all of these questions. And that's because you face a lot of problems with maybe the accuracy and the completeness of your data, unknown dependencies that come up, bugs that come up. You're working on something, nobody plans for bugs, so they cause delays. There's no real way to present this information in a very clear way to the rest of the business, that in a way that they understand. Unplanned work comes up for product. Answering the question, even if this is the right data, or is this the right insight? And then all of this, and then getting your teams to act, so you can actually action on whether or not you can work on X, Y, and Z, when you can announce the product. These are all compounding issues that are really getting in the way of delivering what you say you will. So taking a step further, you have all the data, but finding the insight is your biggest challenge. What Git and Jira slowly and painfully show you versus what you actually need to see is stuff like alignment to your business goals and untracked work and cycle time and your bottlenecks involved in your different phases of cycle time. Rules and guardrails and merge requirements for actually merging your code into the main line and getting it into production. Like, this stuff is really not clear in the standard tools of the trade. Moreover, you see all of these charts here on the left, but what does in progress really mean at any average organization? How accurate is your sprint planning? And then which one of these many reports that come from both Jira and Git do your leaders actually want to see? What are they actually looking for when they're looking for a status update or answers to whether or not you're going to be able to deliver these features? And ultimately, what this comes down to is when you use incomplete evidence, when you use data that's not complete, you're doing what our friend Jack Sparrow over here is doing. You're putting your finger in your mouth, you're holding it up and gauging the wind that way, and that's sort of how you feel engineering is doing versus actually knowing about the health of your engineering organization. Now, with that in mind, I want to go ahead and offer up a poll to everyone. If everyone could take a few seconds and go ahead and take the poll, it should be available now. Do you feel or do you know about the health of your engineering organization? So for some of you, you might feel it. I use what data I have and the force, and that's how I feel about how my engineering team is doing. Or do you know? There's a little quote there for my ally is data, and a powerful ally it is. So go ahead and take a few seconds, answer that poll, and we'll look at the results.
Yeah, I can entertain the crowd in the meanwhile, and I think that like you have raised some solid points here, Zach. And like I've been spending a lot of time talking to engineering leaders, and I think coming back also from the previous slide to this one as well, that the most frequent question that is being asked is, hey, we have this feature in our roadmap in Q4. How are we going to deliver that? Can we communicate to our stakeholders, internal, external, and so on and so forth? I think this is what we want to move from guesstimating to really have like some clear understanding and estimation that we can communicate back.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Guy. Okay. Just a couple more seconds. All right, let's go ahead and see what the results were. Yeah, okay. So this is actually very much in line with what we've seen with our own customers and our internal processes. A lot of people feel they have some data available to them. It's not complete, but they sort of gauge it based on feeling and experience versus those who know. They know unequivocally that what's going on, and they're using data and insight to do that. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. But yeah, that sort of just illustrates our problem, though, is that too many people are feeling what's going on rather than actually knowing what's going on with their engineering team. But you're not alone. The poll has showed us, and our own data shows us that this is a real problem for everyone in the engineering community. And some common roadblocks are about streamlining code. That's because the PR process is really all the same, and it shouldn't be. We treat PRs as equals, and they're not. PRs are very different and should be treated differently. Non-coding time or non-coding tasks. Would it surprise everyone on the call to know that a developer really doesn't spend that much of their day actually doing what they love and actually coding? Most of their day is spent in meetings and status updates, in possibly reviewing others' code, but actually sitting down, solving problems and coding to their heart's content, that's really not the majority of their day. Really, it's only about, it's less than half. So big roadblock for a lot of engineering teams. And then last but not least, and we're going to show this a little later in the demo, is WIP overload. WIP, work in progress, too much of it, and you have a lot of context switching, you have a lot of cognitive reload, you have a lot of split focus, which requires a lot of reorienting yourself constantly to the task at hand and not allowing you to focus. And it's a big bottleneck, and it causes a lot of delays in the engineering process. And the cause for much of this consternation, much of this heartache and headache is the pull request. More specifically, pull request size. And this is why we call it the proto metric. So many engineering problems come down to pull request size. And we'll show this again in both in the data as well as in the demo. So we've conducted a lot of research on pull request size, and here's what we've learned after looking at nearly 750,000 pull requests, almost 4 million reviews from 26,000 developers. Here's what we've learned. Pull requests are idle, or half of all pull requests are idle for about half of their lifespan. 33% of pull requests are idle for nearly 80% of their lifespan. And I want to be really clear on what idle here means. Idle means that pull request is not being acted on at all. Nobody's looking at it, nobody's touching it, nobody's actively working on it. That means no reviews, no coding, no comments, no edits, nothing. It just sits there doing absolutely nothing. Imagine if you could reduce that idle time a little bit, and how much more work you're going to be able to get through the pipeline if you're just not sitting around, or the work rather is just sitting around doing nothing for anyone. Here's what else we've also learned about pull requests. Sorry, I got a little tongue-tied there. PRs that take less than 15 minutes to review get picked up 20 times faster. So we see a little notification here in the bottom right-hand corner of this slide. This is actually a piece of the LinearB app known as WorkerB. This is a personal notification that lets Sharon know, or rather that lets the reviewer know that Sharon has asked for their review, that Sharon has assigned the review to someone. They get this notification. It lets them know, hey, this is the issue that we're talking about here. This is how long it should take you to review it based on LinearB learning about your habits, LinearB analyzing the actual PR and seeing, okay, great, it is a smallish PR, like less than 50 lines of code. It's written in this language. It's this complex. It should take you about 6 minutes based on your past behavior. That's pretty cool. That's pretty great insight. And again, this is a personal notification just for the reviewer, who can, by the way, if they're in the flow, if they're busy right then and there and can't get to it, they can just snooze that alert. It adapts to how you like to work. And we have a number of different WorkerB personal functions that show up here. They can, and this is all done in either Slack or MS Teams, so where you spend the bulk of your time, or where your developers spend the bulk of their time. They can get insight into the PRs that have been assigned to them, the PRs that have requested, their PRs that have requested changes, their PRs that have been commented on, approved. You can also check your CI status. And this one down here at the bottom, one-click ticket, when you are working on a PR and let's say some refactor work comes up while you're working on that, it's not necessarily associated with an issue in Jira, but you need to track that work, especially because would it surprise you to know that 30% of all work on average in any given team is completely untracked. Therefore, the work might as well just not exist if it's not tracked. So to solve that problem, you can easily create a ticket. It shows up in Jira for the new work that you're working on. And this is all WorkerB personal stuff, again, that is available in your Slack or MS Teams, available just for the individual developers.
Zach, I want to double click on the estimated review time and why I think it's like an ultimate game changer. I think what you get here is context. So we believe, like you've said it already, I want to reiterate that not all PRs are created equally, with the wink to George Orwell, that some PRs should take less time than others to review. And what we aim to do is to change the behavior of the reviewers So let's say I issue a PR, and let's say I'm a junior developer in your team now. Zach, you're a senior, just got promoted. Congratulations. And I request your review. So you and only you, we reduce the noise. Only you can see this notification, and you can take action. You can click on the link, and you can start the review. And if you see it's like something small, it's an easy lift. Maybe you can do it before your daily stand-up, or before you're grabbing lunch, or between meetings when you have like this 10, 15 minutes. It helps you to clean the pipeline and keep on pushing forward. But on the other end, for the bigger PRs, that they will take longer. And what we want to do is we want to help the reviewers to slot time in their calendars and maybe put the ND on Slack so they can focus and start and finish the review, hopefully in one sit. Because we talk with a lot of reviewers, and we know that if a reviewer starts a review in a given day and do not complete it, hopefully they will get back to it on the other day. So Zach, shame on you. You didn't complete my request for review at the same day.
Sorry.
But you got it the day after. Do you think you will remember where you stopped the review?
Probably not.
Yeah, you need to go back. You need
to go back and reread it.
Yeah, this is the idle time. Zach will need to go back, read again the comments he already left, if he left any comments. Maybe start all the way through. But what about the PR issuer? I issued the PR. I'm not sitting idle waiting for Zach. Hey, Zach, like, please review my code. I'm moving along. I'm going to the next task, the next bug, the next refactor. If Zach will ask changes from me, hopefully not, because I believe I could be an awesome developer. But let's say he does, like, tell me, Guy, your code is not that great. I want you to fix A, B, and C. So if I'm getting this request for changes one day after or 2 days after, I also don't remember. I also need to drop whatever I'm doing. I'm experiencing context switch. I need to regain context on what the PR, what did I write there? And also I need to read the request for changes. When everything is just streamlined automatically, you take out the manual effort in chasing after one another. We know we are like post-COVID. People don't come as much as often to on-site. I cannot just shout across the room, hey, Zach, like, go ahead, review my code. So it just like makes everything easier, and it brings a great deal of improvement. So I'm the biggest advocate for WorkLB, and I think it's a great deal of change that you can get from that.
Absolutely, Guy. Thank you. So beyond reducing the idle time, reducing the context switching, and really leaning into WorkLB and how it really improves the lives of your developers, we've also learned that small PRs are the key to getting stuff merged quickly and into the main line and out into the production. PRs that are under 200 diff size, under 200 lines of code, under 200 changes get merged twice as fast than those that are over 200 changes. Small PRs are picked up faster, they're merged faster, they get commented on faster, and there's less code churn generally associated with PRs that are under 200 lines of code. PRs with 600 lines of code, 600 changes, they live 3.5 times longer than PRs with 50 or fewer changes, and twice as long than PRs with 50 or 200 changes. So if we've learned anything today, we have learned keep PRs small. That is the key to fast operations in your development pipeline. And more so than that, PR size is the best leading indicator of your engineering efficiency. So on this chart here, you can see what engineering understands. They understand the leading indicators. They understand DORA metrics. They even understand engineering outcomes of, delivering on their promises, delivering more features, increasing planning accuracy. What the business understands, what they genuinely care about are these two on the right. They don't care about the team cycle time. They don't care about your deployment frequency or your mean time to restore. They definitely don't care about your PR review time. They care about what that all nets out to at the end of the day, which is, did engineering deliver on promises? Did they deliver that feature that they've been saying they're going to deliver? Have we, as a result of them delivering, been able to get more new customers, more renewals, more revenue, more retention? But all of that, new customers, more renewals, more revenue, more retention, all of that is enabled by PR size, PR pickup time, PR review time, PR review depth, and churn. And those last four are all enabled by PR size. PR size is, like we said before, the proto metric, the one that really, really, really informs it all. And with that, over to you, Guy. It's demo time.
Yay. Now it's fun times. Thank you, Zach. I think you can take a breather now. You can also you can juggle in between while I'm going to work on sharing my screen.
I forgot my juggling balls. I can't believe it.
Yeah, you can bring them for the next one, and you need to allow me to present.
There you are.
And my screen is visible. Can everyone see my screen?
I think we've got you. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So hello, people that have joined our session today. This is LinearB. For those of you who are not familiar, if you want to get more familiar with it, you can spin up like a free instance and start exploring. We are currently looking at the dashboard. This is the landing page. And I'm going to call out one thing before we continue. You may see like names popping up here and there. And the way we calculate our metrics, so a team is based on a group of contributors, and we look at averages of their Git contribution. In general, our philosophy in LinearB is that we look at processes, high-level processes, starting from the team, group, and the entire R&D organization. And this is what we care about. We want to look at the bottlenecks, want to understand why there are bottlenecks, and then we want to provide call to action to solve them. Something that I really love to tell to my customers that I'm working with is data is part of the story. I can tell stories about data from here until infinity. Context, it's what makes data strong, and combining them together, it's like kind of like a holistic approach where you look at data, but you also tell your story, and then you can move towards like improvement. But visibility, it's like the first stage of that. Currently, I'm looking at the team that is called All Dev. We also see that we are operating Scrum. So I have my sprint being pulled from Jira. We look at information coming from Git repositories and also PM tools such as Jira and Shortcut and so on and so forth. I want to touch a little bit on the cycle time because we have talked a lot about cycle time. And we consider in LinearB cycle time to be a North Star metric that indicates how healthy and stable your pipeline is. Basically, we are looking at the average amount of time it is taking for a single unit of work to go from its coding phase until deployment. So coding, by default, begins with the first commit that is made on a branch. And I'm going to pause here for a second. I'm going to tell you that we also allow an alternative approach to track when coding time starts, because we know it's a best practice to avoid this shadow work, this untracked work that Zach was referring to, that in a branch name, it should contain a PM tag or ID, so we can refer the Git work to the PM work that we are going to report on. So this is and after doing so, when moving an issue from to do to in progress, could also be a marker of the beginning of coding time. Coding time will end when PR is issued. When PR is issued, it basically tells us, LinearB, that, hey, coding work has been completed on this specific item. This item is now being waited to be picked up for a review. Now, pickup time represents an idle time and non-coding time, and the end of pickup time and beginning of review time will happen when we identify the first comment in a review process. So again, review process begin with the first comment until the PR is merged. And then since the PR is merged until deployment, and deployment is completely configurable about what you relate to as deployed. It could be based on tags. It could be merged to a dedicated branch. It could be using direct merges. It could be using API calls. So you can leverage all these options to to tell LinearB what you consider as deployed. What also is visible is that we have the like icon. And over here, we see that we have benchmarks around cycle time and also other selected metrics such as PR size to tell us, hey, how my team is doing comparing to the industry. So if you can, I don't know if it's visible here, but we have conducted a significant research. We have benchmarked around 2,000 teams after analyzing almost 850K branches. And we tell you, we compare you how well you do comparing to the industry. So you can have visibility on that. And we can also see the coloring on the different parts of cycle time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I just want to pause on that for a second, Guy. What Guy mentioned before too with LinearB, it's not just about the value it provides by providing you with data. The benchmarks there, the comparing you to the industry, it's the context. That's the important part. It's not just data, it's context as well. So I just want to thanks, Guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. I think it's like also great because it pretty much tells you where you need to focus. If you see like, hey, deploy time, I have red in deploy time. Oops, sorry. I have a red color in deploy time. I know that, hey, maybe I need to look at my CI processes. If I have like, hey, my review time is fairly long comparing like to pickup time or coding time, I would ask myself as an engineering manager, a few questions. Do I have enough reviewers in my team, for instance? Maybe I have enough reviewers, but maybe they are too busy during hands-on tasks, spending time on meetings. Maybe all the reviews in my team are going to the same person all the time. Maybe we are experiencing context switch and we are juggling too many balls. So we start a review, we don't finish it, we jump to another review and so on and so forth. So there are so many questions to ask here, and this is where the contexts come in, and this is where your story comes in and help you to surface issues that you can tackle and take action on. Moving along, we're going to see now the Pulse screen. Pulse screen is a special screen that combines both data signals from a PM tool, in our case is Jira, and also from Git. Over here, we can see pretty much the states of all the Jira issues we have in the current sprint. We see how many are now in WIP, how many in to do, and how many are in done. But also the WIP in Git terms telling me how many active branches does my developers have in the same time. So for instance, right off the bat, I can say that Fadi is fairly busy comparing to the rest of the team and might have a tendency to have like a context switch. So we have quite a lot of information here, but something I want to grab your attention is here the branches that are not linked to an issue. And if I click on that, I can see the examples of the branches that you simply will not be able to report on because they do not exist in your PM tools. They don't have a correlating issue. Another item that we have is showing the small gray triangle that is telling us, hey, this issue is been working on, has both a Jira issue and Git activity, but it's not selected for the sprint, which is okay. And I also see that it's also a bug. So it makes sense. No one plans bugs ahead of time. Going back on this number of branches that are not linked to an issue and where it's significant the most would be our next screen. Our next screen is projects. Now, projects in LinearB, they are PM-based and can pretty much, we give you the flexibility and freedom to decide, hey, what do I want to report on? It could be a group of epics. It could be an epic and a board. It could be a couple of boards. It could be a board and a label. We give you a lot of freedom to decide what is it that you want to track. But when I come in and I look at the Scrum project, I can look at the planning accuracy. This is what I care about when looking about teams that are operating at Scrum. I care about that and not necessarily the velocity, because velocity is a number that can be abused and we care about the planning accuracy. And how did we come about to this 56%? I'm looking at the total number of planned story points that I had in the last 3 months. I can also toggle between periods of time here. And I also see that we have completed very near to 400 story points. So I'm taking this number, dividing it by this number, and I get this much of planning accuracy. But over here, we also see that unplanned and completed. The way we do it, we know in LinearB that sprints can be quite chaotic. So what we do is we give a grace period at 24 hours after you click Start Sprint, where if changes are happening to the sprint, we do not take them into consideration on what you have planned. Only after 24 hours, if issues are flowing in to the Jira boards, to your sprint, we're going, and they are completed, we're going to mark them as unplanned, but as completed. We can also see what the team has been working on. So this is a good marker to tell me, hey, like some teams are more focused on features. Some teams should like pitch in more working on bugs and so on and so forth. This gives me a good indication knowing what is going on in this area. You also have the ability to click and drill down on a specific sprint. And this is a great place to do retros for the ones that are operating Scrum among you. This gives, I think, to the discussion more than where we did well, where can we improve, and what we can learn to do for the next sprint. This gives me an actual what we have been working on. We have planned a total of 161 story points. We completed this number. This is the unplanned. So unplanned is really interesting here. I see that I've been working on 15% bugs in this specific sprint. So I can go to the list of the unplanned and completed, and I can pretty much see, hey, like this is the items I have here. A lot of them are bugs. I also see like task and maybe some non-functional, but I can also click on this specific item and it will take me to Jira. If I want to look exactly what happened, what is the life cycle, what comments has been left there during the work. So I think this is a really great area to do so. For the ones you out there that are operating in Kanban, we also have something for you, of course. So you can decide whether a project is Kanban-based or Scrum-based, and we can see the throughput that we have, and also a CFD. So a healthy Kanban board, the issues that are moved to done should keep on growing. This looks like a healthy Kanban board. So we can understand like, hey, where could be a potential bottlenecks within our different columns in the board. We can also see, hey, what the team has been working on. Very similar, a lot of great insights here to be taken. But remember, these branches that are not linked to an issue are not going to be visible when you are looking at, hey, what is my planning accuracy? And we want to be able to communicate, even if it's to your own manager or even if it's to the business. So it's not only like, hey, my velocity in that sprint was X. Now you can talk about, hey, my planning accuracy was 56%. The reason for that my team has been working on 19% of the work were bugs during that sprint. Maybe we should delegate the bugs in a different manner among our teams. So it brings more color, it brings more context to the conversations, and you can have like more meaningful discussion over that. For our next stop, this is our metrics section. And I've created a custom dashboard. So for you LinearB users out there and for the ones that are interested, can also click on this specific icon and you can create a dashboard based on all types of metrics that we offer. You can select whether if it's based on team or specific repositories. Let's say, I don't know, you have like a monolith that you are now working to move to microservice. So maybe the monolith would have like different behavior than the microservices. So we also want to see that. But I think coming back to what Zach mentioned in the presentation, we look at PR size as our leading indicator, and I pinned it in the left top corner for a reason. We can see that the behavior of PR size is pretty much identical to the pickup time and review time. So these data points, this is something we cannot look away from, and it pretty much tells us the story. So we can also see that we are benchmarked around the PR size. And we have here fairly big average of PR size during May. And we also see, hey, how it affects like our cycle time in May, how it affects our pickup time in May, how it affects our review time in May. It also is a leading indicator, and I see a lagging outcome in June. But we also see that, hey, it's going down after that. So maybe it's time that it's actually affected, but we also see here a small increase. This small increase is already visible in the pickup time and review time in August, and I'm pretty sure we would see it also in September in our coding time. Another cool thing that you can see is that we have clickable data points. So let's say now you are looking at trends, but you want to get a more detailed view on, hey, what contributed to a higher coding time in June? I can click on this data point, and it takes me to the activity screen and sorting out from the longest coding time to the lowest. So I know, hey, maybe there is it's depending on the PR size, maybe it's the work breakdown, and I can have more understanding on, hey, what happened specifically in that specific month. So up until now, I showed you a lot of data, but now we are going to talk on how taking an action on your data. So a recent feature that is now being introduced is what's called team goals. Team goals is auto-populated and allow you to set goals for your team based on what you configure in your team settings. So for each team, we allow connecting to either Slack channel or an MS Teams channel. And after we make this connection, we can set goals for the team. Now, let's talk about pull request size. And we see in the team, they set their threshold, and this is completely editable. You can edit it. They have set their threshold around 200 lines of code changes. And now they can decide, we want to track that in our custom dashboard, team goals, yes or no. And we want to be notified. So you see that we have two icons. We have the bell, which is a heads up, and we have the notification one. We highly encourage who is ever now on LinearB to use the heads up one because it contains a call to action. So it will populate to the team. This is the team channel. Zach was previously talking about the worker bee, the personal bot that gives notification that only me can see as a developer. But now it's flowing into the team because this is a team business. I like to call them more of a team agreements. So you can go take it with your team, tell them, hey team, we understand that PR size is significant to our pipeline. Let's rally around the number. And we are going to decide that, hey, we want to be notified for PRs that are larger than the numbers we agreed upon that are flowing in the channel. And it could be maybe for education for the team to be aware of how many big PRs we have. And in metrics, we looked at the trends, the averages. What is cool about the team goals, it tells you how many out of these PRs that we have merged have met the goal or didn't meet the goal. And I recently read in an article that teams that have goals in general, not in LinearB, but have goals and are aware of their goals and are being reiterated on this goal in a weekly, bi-weekly manner, their tendency to hit and make their goals are a lot higher. This is a great place for you to have the goals for your team that you have agreed upon and act upon and see hey, we are doing great. This is great percentage, this is great compliance with what we have taken upon ourselves. We also see very similar to pickup time that let's say that someone has issued a PR and no one looked at it for 2 days. Maybe someone is out sick. Maybe someone is getting married, is now on their honeymoon. Or maybe someone is too busy, stuck in meetings. We can take action as a team and help out. Start taking this review, maybe assign a different reviewer, and so on and so forth. We see also for review time, and we have a bunch more going on here that can help you to streamline what is it ever happening in your pipeline. And this is what I had for you today in the demo.
Thanks, Guy. All right. Just 1 second. All right. Thanks very much, Guy. Appreciate that demo. It was great. So with that demo in mind, this is your insight-backed improvement plan. This is the plan that we take internally at LinearB because we believe in dogfooding our product. We are LinearB on LinearB. All of our teams use it. And this has been the improvement plan that we've seen work within our teams. So first and foremost, Guy showed you how to find your metrics from the home dashboard with cycle time. But more than that, it's about contextualizing your metrics. So it's getting the actual metrics and then taking it a step further, using those benchmark insights, seeing where you stack up against the rest of the industry, looking at that metrics dashboard and using that one-click context of seeing the spikes and just contextualizing all of this information so that it's useful and it has real meaning. So that's the first step, is to baseline your metrics. The second step is to create those team working agreements. Now, that is both what Guy was just showing you in the team goals section of actually setting hard, like, numerical goals in place to actually trigger alerts and show you how to action that stuff. But team working agreements together with team goals, the working agreements are stuff like, hey, like maybe a policy on your team works that every PR needs a review. That works for your team. Great. Maybe you have a policy that every PR gets 2 reviews. We've had customers do that as well. We've also seen customers say, hey, PRs, review them in the morning. That way you unblock the rest of your team for their work in the afternoon. Whatever works for your team, your team better than we ever will. Those are the team working agreements that are very individualized for you. And then the team goals for improvement is how you actually action that stuff, actually set a hard number. Guy, one thing that we didn't, that maybe was harder to see in the demo was down at the bottom, when you set those team goal alert thresholds, it'll actually give you an estimation based on your team's performance and your team's activity, because LinearB learns about you and adapts to the way you work. When you set those thresholds, it'll actually show you how many alerts it's going to generate a day, an estimation of that. So we know exactly how, or you'll know exactly how noisy that's going to be. So you can make your team goal settings based on a number of factors, based on your actual information, and of course the estimation from LinearB of how much chatter that's going to create in the channel.
Yeah, I think Zach, just like chiming in here, I think it requires finding a balance between how many notifications I get like per day or per week, and like I want to take like actions on this notification. So there is like a bit of trial and error going on there. Maybe you set like too soft like thresholds, or then maybe too aggressive thresholds. So like, working with your team, reiterating on that, and you will find the right balance for your team.
Absolutely. Next step after setting those goals and creating that action plan and creating those automations, it's actually streamlining your code delivery with automation in place. Stuff that we've talked about and how to do that. Worker be personal. So those personal alerts for your developers to see where their work is, just give them more context, make sure they're always aware of the status of their work, actually tag people in for reviews, and just streamlining communication so stuff doesn't fall through the cracks. Also with team goals and those worker bee team alerts that keep everyone aligned to the stated goals of the team. And last but not least, we're really excited about a new innovation that we've got going on. It's called Gitstream. It's very, very exciting stuff. We'll provide a link at the end to learn more about it. But it is a way for you to ensure that your merge requirements are always met and make it much, much easier for your developers to merge code repeatably and more quickly using automation. Really, really cool stuff there. And it's operating all in the principle that of what we said in the beginning, not all PRs are created equal. And so we've really productized that mantra. So we'll provide you a link here in just a few minutes. And then last but not least, after that automation, after getting that action plan, check back in often and celebrate every single win that you can. Celebrating wins, acknowledging successes, that's the way that teams improve. They need that positive reinforcement. And then, when you check in, celebrate as often as you can, but also, adjust your thresholds as necessary. Guy said it before. This is all about trial and error. Find what works for your team, set a balance, strike a balance here of setting goals and then adjusting them as needed. Improvement is not a finish line. The goalpost is always moving on improvement. So it's not a destination that you reach. It's something that is constant. So you're always trying to get better. You're always trying to improve. And with that, we'll take some questions. Guy, we have one question from Sudhir. Thank you, Sudhir, for your question. And if anyone else has a question, please chime in. But Sudhir asks, how does LinearB identify functional stories versus small stories?
So what we saw in the projects, so we pull that in directly from, let's say, for instance, your Jira, from your Jira board. And we map each issue that is moved to done based on what specific, if it's a functional story, whether if it's a bug, or a task or whatever, we pull that in, this information from Jira.
Perfect. Thanks, Guy. Everyone on here, don't be shy. Go ahead and submit your questions. Here, I think we have another one here. From Jim, any recommendations for organizations with a formal QA step inserted between code review and deploy? How do you disambiguate the bottleneck between getting through code review and getting through testing?
Okay, this is a great question. This is a great question. I get this question a lot from a lot of teams that I'm working on. For this, I can offer maybe two workarounds. One is we understand that hey, maybe the code will be merged before the QA is in the process or after. So if QA is coming in after the PR is merged, I would highly suggest to utilize the API for deployments, because it gives you the option to track multiple target environments. So let's say the first signal will be when it's moved to a QA verification, and then it would go through other CI processes and so on and so forth. So you will be able to see the dependency between the processes. Now, if QA coming into play before the PR is merged, we have, maybe I can share my screen again with your permission, Zach.
Please.
So yes, one sec. Share screen. Yes, and we can see my screen. So part of the metrics that we offer, so we have time distribution. Time distribution is pulling also, this is Jira-based, PM-based metric, and it shows you and help you to understand how much time in average issues spend in different swim lanes. So it basically can tell you, hey, like I can identify like a story I had with one team member. He told me, yeah, but like QA folks, I think QA might be a bottleneck in my pipeline. And what we saw, they had like we pull in again these columns directly from Jira, and they saw exactly like that waiting for QA, in QA, and so on and so forth, spend a significant amount of more time comparing to the other columns. So my first thing that I told, like, hey, show that to your management. Tell them, hey, we need more QA folks in the team to unblock this specific block that we have. Another suggestion that I can have is looking at projects. And I don't know if you're working Scrum or Kanban, but if you are working Kanban, we can show you in any given time how many issues spent in the different columns. So you would see like, hey, we have like an uptick in the one that there is waiting for QA or in QA right now. This is what I would recommend to do. I hope it answered the question.
Cool. Guy, I went ahead and popped another question there in our chat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is a very good question. Basically, we look for signals from Git, and we can have like an alternative way to start counting the coding time with an issue moved from to do to in progress. But I can share with you that it is now in the works to have Jira-based metrics that you basically tells us, hey, I want to track an item from when it's like created until it is moved to done or until it moves to first response and so on and so forth. So we are going to allow a lot more freedom in that aspect. And so you can look at like, hey, both like the Git signals and both the Jira signals there. And it will also allow like to look at stuff like lead time that we heard a lot. But yeah, this will also give us like an indication of time.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Another question from William here. We use PR size and PR depth as metrics that we monitor closely. Small PR sizes are better than large ones, and a larger PR depth. And I'm assuming, William, you mean with PR depth being review depth.
Maybe we can wait for maybe just an example. What is PR depth? Like let's not assume. Let's.
Yeah.
I don't want to go and answer.
I agree. Yeah, William, do we mean small PR with PR depth? Are we talking about review depth? Okay, great. Thanks, William. Appreciate that. So small PR size being better than large ones, a deep PR depth for review being better than shallow reviews. But smaller PRs tend to give smaller PR depth, so these metrics seem to be in competition rather than correlated. How should we balance the importance of PR size with PR review depth, and which appear to be competitive rather than correlated together?
Yeah, I think this is a brilliant question. I think that one of the biggest struggles or like challenges is finding a balance between quality and efficiency. And I think what could help here, and this is what I'm also telling to my customers, is finding like having like an agreement in the team or like aligning around an idea. In our review process, when we leave a comment, it has specific call to action. We don't leave like unnecessary comments like, hey, I really like what you did there, or like something of that sort, because it just takes time. Like the review, like the one that is like maybe being asked to make changes will also look at this and say, yeah, it's like I could have saved time here. So if you can agree in your team, like, hey, when we leave a comment, there is a specific call to action, and maybe if we want to have like, hey, you could have done this specific solution in more elegant way. It's working, but you could have done it more elegant way. Maybe you can keep that for like an offline specific area. But I wouldn't be too worried about low review depth for smaller PRs, because the story that like, hey, small PRs would have like a shorter coding time, shorter pickup time, but also shorter review time, because the reviewer needs to review less lines of code. And I really believe that, let's say it's William that asked that, right?
Yep.
That question. So let's say William, I know this is a shocker. I'm not a native English speaker. I know my English is like perfect, but I'm not a native English speaker. Let's say you would ask me to write an essay, and you tell me, hey guy, like one essay is like 50 words and one essay is like 1,000 words. And you tell me, do not use Grammarly, do not use any autocorrect, do not use any of these tools. I can promise you that my tendency to have grammar issues and typos, and I'm going to forget commas and spaces and dots and what's not, will be a lot higher in the 1,000 word comparing to the 50 word. So it also makes sense that you would request less changes from me, that when I submit my draft or my, like, you'd say, hey guy, like great essay, like you would give me an A+, and like LGTM, like all good. So I think utilizing also Git stream for that. So in a nutshell, maybe I will share my screen again, 1 second. Because I think this is really interesting, and this is like pretty much can get us, would help me to make the point here. So I'm going to share my screen again. Sorry, Zach.
No problem.
Yes. Boom. Cool. So when we use when we think about like Git stream, this is like continuous merge. Like everyone is like aware and know about like CI/CD. We bring in the CM. CM comes like more on the left shift a lot earlier in the process. And what we are saying that, hey, like small changes that are maybe relevant, like I don't know, you change like a document or a task, and the PR size is really low. Hey, this can be auto-approved. We don't need to hassle anyone with a review, because time is such like it's something that we always lacking. We always wish that we would have more. It's like really precious resource. And for common changes, we will find the right reviewer with code owners. And for critical changes, maybe we need more than one reviewer, 2 reviewers. So basically, you can tell us, hey, based on a repo, in this repo, this is the set of rules I want. And if the change is very small, and looking at like, I don't know, doc files, so yeah, the action that I want auto approve. And if it's like has like some different like, hey, core like activity that is there, so I think this would help you understanding like that they're not in a race together. They're in like they complete each other. So it's also the context. But when you share the story, such as, hey, like small PRs are working better, like we understand that. Maybe I will see less review that, but this is okay. I wouldn't like fall off my chair if you will tell me, even if not reviews, even non-comments at all. Like, an LGTM is a comment, but it could either be like just an approve, like in Git, and this is what we care about. Like, we do not want to see PRs that are merged without review, meaning they do not have an approval signal in Git that we track, and it's merged without that. But yeah, I wouldn't be worried too much about the low review depth specifically for smaller PRs.
Cool. As we are out of time, so if we did not get to your question, we'll follow up with you offline. So thank you so much for your questions today.
Zach, we have another like Interact. We have like this huge webinar we are hosting.
Yes. If you guys have not signed up for it yet, Interact is in October. It is going to be amazing insights from engineering leaders from across the engineering community, from across the world. We're going to tackle all of these subjects and more. If you want to learn more about Interact, it is October 25th. And Margaret, can you pop the Interact sign up link in the chat? If not, that's okay. So next steps here. For those of you that are not on LinearB yet, you can head over. Thank you, Margaret. Appreciate that. So for those of you not on LinearB, or if you are on LinearB and haven't turned on your team goals yet, because we spent a big portion of time here exploring team goals and how to use them, check out app.linearb.io. If you don't have LinearB, it'll prompt you to sign up for LinearB. It's totally free, by the way, for accounts with 8 or less contributors. And team goals is now generally available. So get in there, start using team goals. And if you'd like to know more about Gitstream, what Guy just showed you, you can sign up for that at linearb.io/dev. Also, we're constantly innovating, constantly updating the product. So stay tuned for exciting updates on that. And just thank you all so much for attending. I hope this was informative. I hope this was useful. And thanks so much for attending. We really appreciate it. Guy, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you, Zach.
And I'll see you on the next one.
See you in the next one.
All right, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.